Welcome to Office Hours for TradersPost on this June 28th, 2024. I'm Tom Hartman, part of the marketing team here at TradersPost, and I'm joined as ever with Mike Christensen, CSO. Thank you, Mike, for joining us, and Jonathan Wage, CEO. How's it going, John?
What's up, guys?
It's a great day. It's post-debate day. I always love as a non-American, I gotta say, it's like a holiday. It's like a nice little festival that we have when we watch the debates that happen, because every 4 years it's amazing. What I care most about, though, is what happens with the markets afterwards, which is what I'm looking forward to talk to you guys about in after hours. But during office hours, what we do is answer your questions about using TradersPost platform. Our goal is to make sure that TradersPost becomes the best automated trading platform for you and your trading needs. And for that, we need your feedback, which you've been giving us in droves. So this week, we have a nice crop of questions we're going to be able to go over. But before we start with that, I did want to point out something, a recent addition to the TradersPost website, a new type of integration that's in beta, which is NinjaTrader. I know a lot of people have been talking about it in Discord, in the support groups. They're really excited, really interested. So I just wanted to get like a little bit of a feedback on that as to what kind of integration are we looking at here for NinjaTrader? What can we actually trade? And what has the reception been so far? Mike?
I would say the reception is good. There's obviously lots of people that are excited about NinjaTrader. The one caveat to all of this is there's a bit of confusion as to whether or not it's even supported. So we've kind of updated our documentation a little bit, and the one thing we have to clarify is that it is built on top of our Tradovate integration, and you just have to log in with your NinjaTrader credentials in order to get access to it. So we have had a few questions come through trying to figure out how that works, and we're working on making that clearer and clearer.
Yeah, it's great to see the people testing it out in Discord. I mean, I really love being in the Discord group. John, obviously, you're there constantly. Do you like the platform? I've never actually flat out asked you.
Discord or
Yeah, Discord.
I like it. I mean, it's great for communities, and it's free, and it's fast, and software works well. So I like it.
Excellent. And the people there, they seem to be extremely helpful. I really love when I see names I don't recognize, who are just answering questions for the group before Cam or you can get to it. I'm always like, okay, that's a sign of a good group of people when everyone really wants to show their knowledge of the product and help people out.
Yeah, we tried to create like a community ambassador program. We have like a few power users that have been with TradersPost for multiple years now, and they help us with answering questions from customers in Discord. And we get a lot of amazing feedback. A lot of the features that we implement have come directly from feedback in Discord.
Excellent. I also wanted to just touch on the idea here that so we're seeing this pop up a little bit more and more now, especially like this NinjaTrader we saw where integration with a certain broker then opens up, like unlocks a different feature that I didn't really realize beforehand. And the same thing we've been seeing with the prop firms, right? Depending on what brokers they're integrated with, sometimes there could be some sort of crossover with TradersPost. We can send a signal here, and it loads on the broker through the prop firm. So that's been pretty interesting. And so you can sort of imagine that as more and more of these integrations keep happening, that it goes beyond just the straight broker. It can actually end up being some of the things that are connected to it. To that end, I did want to bring up a question that was floating around Discord this week, which was about fractional shares. I know that Interactive Brokers does allow for fractional shares directly on their platform, but if I'm not mistaken, TradersPost, we can do fractional shares there, but I want to know if in general there are fractional shares available.
So Interactive Brokers does support fractional at like their higher level, like platform level, but through the specific API that we integrate with, they don't support fractional shares. That may have changed. I'll have to look into that to see if there's something new that would allow us to do it. But right now, with our Interactive Brokers integration, there is no support for fractional shares. But Alpaca, Robinhood, of course, any of the crypto exchanges are inherently fractional. But yeah, if the broker does support fractional, we do try to support it in TradersPost as well.
That's excellent. Is that from your experience? Is that like a grown request that people have to trade fractional shares?
With it doesn't really. I don't feel like it makes sense to me. I mean, with algo trading, like we support it just because it just kind of automatically worked that way. But it's not really that requested that often. There's really no difference between buying a whole number of shares versus a fractional, especially with the stock market. I mean, the size you're going to be trading by default, the fraction will be meaningless.
It just depends on the shares, I guess. If I want some Berkshire Hathaway, I'm not going to be able to pony up 300K
Right.
for a share. So
yeah, I think those would be the cases where I think it makes sense. And of course, crypto is where it absolutely makes sense for the same reason.
Somehow, the Venn diagram crossover of the people who want fractional shares and the people interested in Berkshire Hathaway, I don't think is very large.
Is there a wide gap between those?
All right, so we had a couple of questions here in the chat. This is one from John Kin, who's asking if there's any update on when we can get into a position offset from the price that's given on a single
I love this
candle.
question.
Yeah, you can do it today. You just have to do it on your strategy side and basically do that math from whatever the price is that your signal triggered from, and then just add or subtract or do whatever you want to that price before you send it to TradersPost. And we have thought about some ways that we could potentially support that within TradersPost on the JSON side. So you could basically like do math or simple addition, subtraction, etc. in the JSON. But it's not available yet. It's still kind of in the early discussion stages. But definitely you can do it on the PineScript side in your code.
Something that touches on this is this idea that it was a question that came up where I guess maybe I had the same sort of issue when I started trading as well, where I wasn't really clear on the difference between a market order and a stop market order. Just so it's clear for people, the stop in the stop market order is not talking about like a stop loss or anything like that. It's just saying when this point is triggered, then the market order, the limit order will fire. I think there's like a discrepancy there, or
maybe just
people not understanding. Yeah,
there's only two reasons that I'm aware of. I mean, if the market can gap down below your stop, and it wouldn't get triggered. So, like if you have a stop loss that's open and it's in pre-market and it gaps down below that stop, then when the market opens, it's not going to trigger. That stop market will stay there. And I guess the only other reason would be the stop price triggers, but then once it submits the market order doesn't fill. But I feel like that would be really unlikely, because if the stop price triggers, that means that there's matches happening, and the market order should fill. But in theory, a market order doesn't have to fill. Like, it's not guaranteed. It all depends on the volume and the liquidity available at the time that market order is out there. What am I missing, Mike?
I'm wondering if this question comes from somebody that can share their trade with us, because I wonder if something else is at play. It could be that they had a market window or a trading window rule established, and that order didn't get filled or got rejected because it was outside of the trading window, or maybe it was after market hours and only limit orders are allowed. I feel like there might be another condition here that would have caused this order to not get filled, but we'd have to look closer at it.
If I remember correctly, what it was is that their strategy in TradingView was dealing with a stop, and then the order that was sent was also included the stop.
Oh, I remember this one. I remember this one. Well, so what happened there is, like, when you're using TradingView as your strategy and like it's powering the stops, where like TradingView is watching the price, and when that stop is hit in TradingView, it sends a signal to a TradersPost, and that user had it configured to send a stop market order to the broker. Um, but the stop price that they sent was like not valid anymore, and broker rejected the order. So when you're using TradingView or your strategy is like controlling your stop dynamically, then you want your exit order to just be a plain market order, because the stop has already been triggered on the TradingView side. When I say stop, like it could be a fixed stop price, or it could be something more dynamic like a moving average crossover. So as soon as that happens in TradingView, you either want to submit a limit order or a market order. Probably a market order, because a limit order may not get filled.
So I guess what you're saying is a second alert would need to come through with an action of exit in order to exit that position at a stop price.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Just basically send a regular old exit signal.
Right. Okay. Tom, we got another question here on from Glasmo.
That's right. So newbie question: can I trade indices?
That one has come up a lot. I'm assuming he means index options. I think that's the only thing that you can trade that are directly based on the index.
And without like making any assumptions, if you're not aware, the ETFs that track the indexes, of course, are tradable. So the S&P 500, which is an index under the ticker SPX, can be traded under numerous tickers that are established by other firms. The biggest one is probably the SPDR SPY ETF, which tracks the index directly. But
I don't even know why. Like I know you can do it. I just never done it myself, and I don't know like what's the difference between trading index options versus trading the ETF options for the S&P, for example.
I think it's the style of the options contract. I think the index options are European style rather than American style, but which I think provides different limitations and rules around how the options contract is established. But Glasmo's saying here, NAS 100 and DAX. Well, DAX is a foreign index, and we don't currently support that. You can get it through the DAX ETF under the NASDAQ, which of course is tradable on our platform. The NAS 100, of course, you can trade under ETF symbols like QQQ. But I don't know. I don't know if there's another directly tradable index for those two.
Yeah. So the short answer is we don't support index options yet. It's an entirely different asset class technically, and the options asset class that we support are stock and ETF options. To support index options, we could do it. I think TradeStation supports index options. Tradier, I don't think supports index options, but we could integrate it with TradeStation in the future.
Excellent. All right, so moving on here. This question has come up before, but we're just going to reiterate it again here. And we're going to phrase it in this way. So what is the difference between using action exit over sentiment flat if the goal is to exit my position?
So there is no functional difference. Like they're literally a different way to express the same thing. There's a concept internally inside of the TradersPost code base called exit only signals. And it basically means like this is an exit only. It will never enter a new position on the other side. So you could have a strategy configured to take both sides, but sometimes you want to exit your long position and then enter short. But then other times you only want to exit long. And that allows you to differentiate between an exit only signal versus a signal that will exit and enter on the other side. And the reason why both of those ways to express that exist is because of TradingView. In a TradingView strategy, the action of the strategy.order.action variable is always buy or sell. But sometimes in a TradingView strategy, it could be buying to flatten a short position or buying to exit the short position and then enter long. And they express that in a variable with a value of long, short, or flat. and that's combined with the action of buy or sell. So when action is buy and sentiment is flat, that means that that is only exiting the short position. And that's just basically to make it compatible with TradingView's format so that you can take the strategy variables and plug them directly into the JSON, because there's no way to do action exit from a TradingView strategy.
So would you recommend, because I'm just wondering, because there are settings within the subscription and the strategies where you can limit that it's only, a buy or long or short term
Yep.
strategy. But I'm wondering if, like, let's say someone wanted to just do away with sentiment flat. Maybe they're not using TradingView, they're using something else, and they don't have to think about that.
You really don't need it. Yeah. I mean, you can get
Right.
rid of it. Yeah. And you can set sides. Like if you're only long, then you can just set sides to bullish in the strategy on the TradersPost side. And you don't need the sentiment because it's a one-sided strategy. So you don't need the sentiment to tell you, is this an exit only, or is this a signal that will switch sides?
So the concern would be, let's say I did want the strategy to allow long and short,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was using action exit. There's situations where I'm exiting the position and it actually might open a position in the opposite direction. Like I think I have 10 shares of Apple. I don't, and now it's shorting.
No, it wouldn't. The only way that could happen is in like a race condition scenario where, like, say you had a stop loss in your broker for a long position, and then your strategy is also sending an exit signal at the exact same time
Right.
that the exchange fills that stop loss, and we're trying to execute that exit signal at the same time, and we executed and fetched the open position right before the stop loss is triggered. So to us, it seems like the position is still open. And it gets even more confusing because it would only potentially do it with brokers that their action and the underlying API doesn't differentiate between a sell and a sell short. So we would calculate that we need to sell that long position, but then by the time that order gets to the broker, the position is no longer open and it sells to go short. But if the broker had specific language that says action sell to close, then the broker would receive it and be like, I can't sell to close. There's nothing to close because the position is already closed. So that'd be feedback to brokers, is that you should probably make your action specific so that you can specify your intent exactly.
Perfect. But generally speaking, action exit is to get you out of the position.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Well, speaking of race conditions, this is a phrase that I've seen come up again and again, which is it was working before.
Yeah.
And that to me is code for chances are you have race conditions happening, and that sometimes it's executing the way that you want it to, and sometimes it's not. So that's going to be a broker issue or whatever. But generally speaking, has it been your experience that this phrase precedes race conditions?
Usually, yeah. I mean, it's hard to explain, and I use the analogy of like, flipping a coin. Like, just because the coin lands one way doesn't mean it's going to land that way every single time. And with the internet, when systems are communicating with each other, it seems like everything is instant, but like, imagine two people are throwing a football at the same time. Like, one person could throw it first, and another person could throw it after the first person, but their ball could get there before the other person. So like, that doesn't always have to work out that way, but that's essentially like kind of what like a race condition is. And, we're talking like this stuff, the flip of the coin happens in milliseconds.
That's the big difference. A coder, if you're talking to them about 500 milliseconds, like that could be a lot for a programmer.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I get that. And for a regular person, it's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. We're talking about milliseconds now.
Yeah. You may as well start thinking in nanoseconds. Like at some point, the timeline in computers is significantly faster than our perception of time. A whole lot of things can happen in less than a millisecond.
That's right. And that's kind of what the why does my stop market order sometimes not get filled? That's what happened with that customer in Discord. He had it configured to be his stop loss was a stop market order, and it worked sometimes. It didn't work other times because the way it was working is like, we fetch a quote to get the current price, And then we use that configured price as the stop price. And if the price, blew past that stop price before we submitted the order, it would get rejected. But if the price wasn't moving at all and the stop price was still valid, then it would accept the order. So that's why that order could work sometimes and not work other times.
Excellent. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna get that code word in there that if anybody watches this and it's sort of like when I used to train some programmers I would hire, and they'd be like, something's wrong with the computer, it's not working. I go, no, the computer's working fine. You're definitely not working. Like, always assume that the problem is from your own understanding and not that the zeros and ones that have been working for the last year on your computer all of a sudden stop functioning.
Have you ever heard the PEBCAC? Have you ever heard that before? Problem, it's a PEB problem exists between keyboard and chair. It's like you always got to think, and I think Mike, and I think you too, Tom, you've worked in like customer support and stuff like that, and you always rule out the things you don't think it is first, because so many times you go looking for something and then it ends up being the simple thing that you disregarded at the beginning because you're like, oh, there's no way it could be that. And then it ends up being that.
Well, speaking of which, there's this issue that actually this happened to me when I was using TradersPost. That if you have the limit to trading view option selected for your webhook in order to restrict signals to only come from the TradingView platform, and then you send a test through the TradersPost interface to that webhook, it won't go through.
I think I should probably fix this. I mean, I thought about it a lot.
I don't know. I actually think this should be expected behavior.
Yeah.
This kind of fits squarely into is this system working or not, right? If you've elected to only limit the webhooks to TradingView, well, technically TradersPost is not TradingView. So this is working properly. We're rejecting the error properly. If we let it through, then we've just made an exception to the rule, and that could actually create a different type of confusion. So
maybe, yeah.
And it can open up a security issue. Because
I guess it depends on what some people might desire it to be one way and some people might desire it to be the other way. Like one customer might say, well, I want to lock it down so that no one can send the signal from within TradersPost. And another customer wants to do it sometimes. So maybe it's actually like I don't know. Maybe it could be a feature where it's like limit to TradingView, but allow TradersPost.
Yeah, I'm almost wondering if it's like a limit to TradingView or limit to TradingView and TradersPost, and then that's the option you can select there.
Right. But it does come up every once in a while. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, every 2 or 3 months, there'll be a customer that comes across it, and it's always a new customer. And then once they learn it, and I think there's other things that, Mike, your idea yesterday about kind of creating a page within the app as like a glossary of all the error codes, and then integrating that into the UI. So like next to every error code, there's a help box to explain like why you're getting this, and we could explain that in that limit to TradingView area error.
I'm obsessed with nuanced documentation. That's always like the trick, right? Is filling in all the missing gaps.
And from our perspective, like that's good for us. Like that's one less support ticket that we have to handle, and the customer gets their answer quicker than they would otherwise.
Right.
Excellent. So the last question we have for this week is someone was asking, I thought it was an interesting answer you gave to them, Mike, where someone was asking if under the trading window settings, is there a way to set the hours so that you can only open a position during that window, but that you can still close it outside of that window?
Yeah, I think this might need to be an enhancement we make, but in theory, if you have opened a position within the trading window and you attach a stop loss or a take profit to that, and that is now with the broker, it will still execute outside of the trading window. So if you set your trading window from like 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern time, you open a position within that window, you have a stop that's well below, and in the second half of the session, that order executes at 1:30 p.m. It's still going to execute, right? We're not going to block that on the broker side. That's with the broker. But if you wanted to send a second signal to exit that and it's outside of the trading window, currently we reject that. So the question is, should we always accept exit signals outside of trading windows, and that might be something we look at
Or
improving.
like maybe a checkbox on the trading windows that says like
Sure.
allow exits or something like that.
Allow exits outside of window.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It's definitely something useful.
It's always fascinating, this idea, and it's what I love about programming, where you go, okay, there's all you can essentially build everything that you need, or that can be built, let's say on the strategy side, on the TradingView side, and then you can have a bunch of things like within TradersPost, and then you can have a bunch of things that are executing at the broker side, and then you can sort of like decide what parts need to be done where, and that gives a little, some granularity to the strategy. And out of the box, someone might think, well, I don't want that. Like you think of all the different options for me, choose the best ones and make sure that happens the way it needs to, in an intuitive way to me. But then as you start developing strategies, you start realizing, no, this granularity actually provides me with more flexibility to create things that I need. It's a fine line to walk.
I was originally, when I first built TradersPost, I like had it in my head that I didn't want to allow like any filters or any controls or limited amount of controls on the TradersPost side. Because it separates your logic. Like you have some logic in the strategy, and then you have some logic on the TradersPost side, and you're running your back test against your strategy with one set of logic, and then you apply this other set of logic on TradersPost, and like now you're running an entirely different strategy. So I personally, like, if it were me, I would try to do as much as possible on the strategy side to avoid doing something different. But some people aren't using strategies; they're using indicators. Like they're finding indicators on the internet, and they don't have access to the Pine script, and they just kind of want to like piece together this stuff. And I kind of changed my mind and my view about it. We just want to provide the tools, like a tool belt for people, and people can decide how they want to use that tool belt.
Yeah, there's a ton of flexibility with the TradersPost environment in terms of where you make trading decisions. And some of that can be split up along the journey. Some of the trading decisions are in TradingView, some of the trading decisions are in TradersPost. And then arguably there's additional trading decisions within the broker if there's like margin requirements or you're up against some limit of some kind. And so because of that flexibility, there's a ton of upside to how you can create some rules along the way. It's just harder to diagnose and debug as your trade makes its way through the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel.
Yeah. The more moving pieces, the more ways that stuff can go wrong.
Right.
I think it was Elon Musk. He had a quote about like the best part is no part. And like when you're building a system, like if you can eliminate something entirely from a system and still get the same result, then that system is better. So like in general, try to like figure out a way to have the same or equal, similar functionality with like 95% of the benefit without all the additional moving pieces.
Sure. Well, I guess from that perspective, we should also lean into his obsession over first principles and just tear everything out, start from the ground up. We'll become a broker ourselves, and we'll have AI generate everything for you.
That'd be awesome. Someone actually asked that. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
The have you guys ever used the Obsidian Note app? Have you ever heard of this? Okay, so I'm obsessed with productivity apps, and I love note apps, and I've used every single one of them out there. And Obsidian on paper sounds like it should be the best app it's the most secure. It has all kinds of different features, has more features than you can ever go through in a lifetime. But because they over optimize for granularity, it's unusable for somebody who wants to start. Like if you want to onboard into this, you have to dedicate 1.5 to 2 years in order to understand this app. And then after, you swear how good it is. And then you have the other side, something like Notion, which is like super user friendly but restrictive in a bunch of different ways. And you go, and then the onboarding for that is challenging. So my one of the things I keep in mind when I think about TradersPost and when we have these conversations is like, okay, I always like the thing where the feature would give more power, but I'm assuming the newbie coming in here, if they have to go through the documentation, if they have to sit there and read a bunch of things and watch a bunch of videos for hours or days to understand it, then it's not really worth that.
Yeah, here's my take on that. I feel like we fit squarely into the category of being complex, sophisticated software, right? There's a whole lot of features and there's a whole lot of concepts that are not quick to grasp. It takes a little while to understand them. We're all engineers here. We've used VS Code for a long time, and I think Microsoft's Visual Studio Code is like very comprehensive application, and there's about 100 million things you can do within the app. To this day, I still discover new things, and I'm like, I didn't know you could do that. This button's been here the entire time. And VS Code is aware of it too. If you follow them on TikTok, they have an entire series of, holy shit, this just blew my mind. I didn't know you could do this in VS Code.
I didn't realize.
and so they even are aware that there's just this unlimited nuance to how things can be done. The biggest factor to me is just making sure that the most important things that need to work out of the box and are easy to grasp and understand. And then you just start bolting on your understanding to the more sophisticated parts along the way, which might mean understanding where trade decisions are being made on TradingView, how that translates to TradersPost, how it works with your brokers. Like there's all these core concepts that take time in order to understand. But the main thing is, did my signal turn into a trade and did it execute with my broker correctly? That's like our number one objective, is making sure people feel comfortable with that part.
Yeah, and I think that lends to something that you've been bringing up over the last months, which is we need a way of visualizing this process of how the signal is coming through. And once that is clear, that people can actually see these things, they don't have to conceptualize it, then I think it'll click in people's heads.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's the hard part too, is like, and Mike's talked a lot about this, is trying to improve the UX and kind of give ways to like deprioritize the more advanced features, so that there's like an easy path for the beginner customer, and then they have the ability to expand into the more advanced stuff. And basically that just makes it easier for people to onboard, and it lowers the barrier of entry, but doesn't lower the ceiling at all.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Agreed.
Excellent. All right, folks. Engaging conversation. Always love talking about TradersPost, and I mean, frankly, anything about retail markets. I'm going to talk about that all day long. It's going to end, and we're going to talk about retail markets again. So, as always, every week we look forward to your feedback, to your questions. As you see, we go through your support messages, we go through Discord, we go through social media platforms. We want to know what you think and what would make the platform better in order to solve your pain points, because we want to be the best trading platform for your trading needs. So that'll be it for this week. We'll be back next Friday with more questions, and I wish you guys a great weekend.
Thanks.
Cheers, everyone. Happy Friday.